So first of all, we'd like to kind of chat about is what R&D is and who qualifies. So the who, it needs to be a limited company, has to be a trading company. And for R&D, there are two types of claims that we can do. The one that most people do is called the SME R&D claim. And I'd imagine that most of you would fall under that type of claim. There is something called an R&D RDEC claim. Sorry to get all technical, but this is more for like larger companies, like companies that need audits. So it's probably something that won't apply to you guys. So we're just going to chat about the SME claim today. And what R&D is how to explain this? So R&D is you need to demonstrate some sort of technological or scientific advancement that you've made to the industry, to the market. There has to be some sort of uncertainty, like when you started the project, and some challenges that you weren't quite sure initially how you're going to overcome. But through the use of competent professionals, trial and error, testing, you've kind of overcome that and the project has happened. So there's so many different R&D claim projects out there that it's just too many to list, if I'm honest. But the main ones that I do see are kind of when people create some bespoke apps or bespoke integration, some sort of platform that you've created from the ground up, something very bespoke and something that when you looked at the market to try and find an alternative, there was nothing out there. So you decided that we're going to create it ourselves.
The process was really straightforward. So they sent a big spreadsheet across, and you have to fill in freelancer hours and rates, and then paid staff their salary and what percentage of their time they used on the project. As well as any project management, any software like project management software or Adobe or whatever software you might be using. So those subscriptions. So that was fairly fast to fill in, and then we did an interview that took about an hour and a half with somebody from WOW who just asked us in detail about the two projects, and then they sent over a sort of write-up of that. Afterwards, maybe a week or two after that, and then we corrected anything that wasn't right, and then they sent it in. So basically, it took. I mean, I'm guessing not more than half a day of our time at the very most to get this 18.5K, which is made everybody very happy.
Oh my god, amazing!
Yeah, and then in our case, it was also we didn't take the full amount because our profit was less than 18.5K, so we couldn't take off that amount of money. So you could either, I think you can sort of roll it forward until you have enough profit to cover it, or if you want to take that amount, you forfeit about 4 or 5% from that. So we got about, 18.5 was actually what we did get, but it would have been even more if, if we could have had a bigger profit or waited to roll that over.
We had one where, so they were, I think they got between 30, 40 grand back from HMRC. It was like 35 grand in their bank account from HMRC. So what it done, it reduced their profits so much that they didn't have any tax to pay. And then it puts you in an interesting position because it puts you in a loss position. You can either carry those losses back if you've got profits from the previous year, or you can take a tax credit from HMRC, which is lower than the tax rate, so it's 14.5%, but that's cash in your bank account. And once you submit the claim to HMRC, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for you to get that money into the account. So it's incredible. It's really helped people, especially during COVID, to have that money.
Initially, did you guys... James, Madeline, Chris, Neil, did you guys think, oh, I want to claim for R&D tax credits, or did you have to have your eyes opened about, oh, hang on, okay, I can understand why
we
that.
had our eyes opened. We had a non-exec come in and say we just claimed a load of R&D stuff, and we'd actually just started working with the WoW company at the time at my old agency. So Pete had come in and said, "Oh, have you thought about R&D?" And then our non-exec had also said, "Have you thought about R&D?" And then so we were aware of them, but we weren't really sure what to claim or how to claim it.
Right.
Yeah, I think I saw it on Slack, the AC Slack, of course. And then I think probably from there I looked at it on the WoW website, probably with things having to do with COVID, just trying to remember exactly, all the different types of support. And then I think I saw maybe in the COVID hub that you guys put up pretty quickly. I think it was probably in there, and then I saw it and it just kind of clicked.
Yeah. Bro.
Yeah, and for me, it was my previous accountants had mentioned it to me years ago, and as I say, we'd kind of gone through the process of discussing some projects with them at the time, and it's something I've actually mentioned to a number of my clients with regards to making sure that they look at claiming as well. But yeah, it hadn't been something that I'd pursued with the previous accountants, and then during the migration to the WoW company last year, kind of got brought up again, and I was a bit skeptical because obviously we hadn't been able to do it with the previous accountants, but then it all worked out nicely.
Start off with the numbers side of things. If you use a time tracking software, obviously that makes it a lot easier. But if you don't, that's not a problem. Most of the claims people don't have that available. What we ask for is a percentage of that employee's time over that accounting year. So we always think of it on accounting year rather than a tax year. Over that accounting year, how much of their time in the office working was spent on the R&D projects. When it gets a bit more complicated, I don't know whether this applies to people on this call, is if you furloughed anybody during COVID, some further calculations need to be done because obviously that furlough period can't be counted. So it gets a bit more interesting, but we can always help you understand and work that out. So yeah, it's all based on percentages basically for the year of how much that person spent on R&D. Now for what type of projects? Yeah, so I've seen software as well kind of included in R&D claims. But also I've had, just trying to think of a recent R&D claim, which is not necessarily technological. Had someone create new remedies, ingredients. This is probably not applied to you guys, but it was more scientific based rather than technology based. But what I'd always recommend is have a chat with us first. We can chat more in depth about what the project entailed, and we can then use our knowledge, our expertise, to kind of determine whether it is R&D. I say there's a vast variety of R&D claims and projects out there. So yeah, have a chat with us and we can definitely help you determine that.